This is me testing the live broadcast option for a podcast. Thanks, welcome. And this is the Daniel Bradley Show, I guess. My name is Daniel Bradley. I'm a wealth coach and a dad and a millennial. And so that's usually the type of people that I serve with this channel, families looking to save money, make more money, and generally win with their financial goals. And so other than that, we're going to be going over some news. I want to talk about the Super Bowl. I want to react to some credit card hacks that I've been seeing on TikTok and possibly unpack how we can pay off our debts and improve our credit score. So all that with further ado, my question for you is, do you think the recent Super Bowl game with how it ended, do you think it was decided on a ref's call or not? And is that a big issue? And whether or not refs could be deciding the fate of such a Super Bowl. And let's talk about some of the money that was involved with the Super Bowl, with bets and gambling. It's on an all-time high. Is that good or not? So let's have you be the deciding factor on whether or not this is this is something that should have happened with this call. Right there. So, I mean, it looks like he grabbed the jersey, and James Bradbury right there on the defense said it was a holding. He tugged his jersey, and he's hoping they would let it slide. Now, my reaction to that is that kudos to James Bradbury for responding what I think is the right way, appropriately, taking responsibility. He didn't have to do that. And I think that, a lot of people are saying, I heard this as a recommendation, should there be a board that is deciding on whether or not they should overturn calls like this? But it takes a lot out of the game of different sports, of football, soccer. I know that one example is with the World Cup. They had a device in the center of the ball, and it showed where the ball's position was within like a few millimeters on the field. And within a few hundredths of a second, they can tell where every player is and where the ball is, whether or not it crosses the threshold for the goal. And, if you know without a shadow of a doubt that the call is going to be clear and that, the right winner is going to come out on top, sometimes that's fun in other aspects of life, if you know for sure that financially or with, health situations, you want to know you're getting the right feedback and the right answers for specific things. But, when it comes to sports, part of the benefit of the sports is the ambiguity, of having to have a real person, flesh and blood person on the field making judgment calls. And then whether you agree or disagree with those calls, that's kind of up to you. But isn't it kind of part of the fun, having to sort of kind of root for your team? And sometimes the black and white team out there, the refs are the bad guys and are treated as such. And I don't think that anyone should be fired over this, but I think a lot of people had a lot of angst over it, mainly because of all the sports betting and stuff. And I mean, for some people, they say it's more fun. And answer this for me. Do you think it's more fun to have people betting on sports versus just watching it and enjoying it on? Me personally, my wife and I had a little wager that if the Eagles won, that she would do the dishes for the week, and if the Chiefs won, then I would do the dishes a week. So here I am all week doing dishes, and that's just good fun right there, But if you're betting the farm, if you're betting a whole bunch of money, whether you have it or not, I mean, so many people are in debt these days, and savings rates are kind of wibbly wobbly, and if you have an outsized wager that's going to negatively impact your life if you lose it, well, that's not fun. That's just painful. So all that to say, I think that the Super Bowl, it could have been decided on a ref's call. The player himself weighed in. And I think for the integrity of the game, really kind of showed that he believed that, you know, it was a good call and it was the right thing to have happen. So that's good, and I like that he said that. Now, yeah, I'd love to talk about some of my favorite aspects of the game, and the point right here is Chris Stapleton. And just check out some of his performance here for the national anthem.
So proudly held at the twilight's gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we walked were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular upon bird singing out, yeah.
And so I wanted to stop it there, not because I didn't want to watch the whole thing. It's amazing, and I think he did such a good job, but the emotion on so many of the players' faces, and how, I mean, there's a lot wrapped up in it. You know, you're going and you're there on the field. This is a huge deal for you, and you know, I'm sure there's like so many different layers there. With people, everyone brings their own personal story, everyone brings their own history to experiences like that. But man, he did such a phenomenal job. He's just such a natural born performer, entertainer, musician. My background's in music, and I love, you know, getting together and making music with people, but to be able to stand alone and to carry the national anthem that way is just phenomenal. And, you know, I loved everything they did leading up to it. I think a lot of people found a lot of things to be controversial and try to, you know, stir up some drama over the ceremony leading up to the national anthem. Whether or not we need multiple national anthems in this country, I don't think anyone's necessarily trying to push for that. But I think that, you know, it was an awe-inspiring moment. All the performances throughout the whole thing. I thought Rihanna was great. I think Chris Stapleton was great, and it's just someone who's, you know, is just, my first love is music, and so I thought it would be good for me to kind of throw my 2 cents in there, and just to kind of share a story about my son, who, you know, he's 2, and he's sitting on the ground there, and we're watching the whole Super Bowl, and this is gonna be like the first time he even could say the words Super Bowl, and he's sitting there looking up at Chris Stapleton performing, and it was the first time for 2 full minutes, I think, all day, that he was just silent, and he was just sitting there and just hands in his lap and just staring up at the screen, and just you know, it was an awe-inspiring performance. And I think it resonates with so many different types of people, you know, young, old, you know, people all over the world were able to see this as a powerful moment. And so I think that's a wonderful thing. I think of all the moments that I'll probably remember, you know, a few years from now. I'm probably not going to remember maybe even who won, but I bet I will remember that performance. And so it's just worth kind of immortalizing that way. And so, I always look forward to the ads. I always look forward to some quality Super Bowl commercials. I don't think we got the same quality. Every year I seem to be less and less impressed with the Super Bowl commercials and the different ads. And so maybe this is something where this year, you know, they had some highs and lows. I know that there was a lot of people that wanted to, you know, pick fights about certain things, and everyone's got their own opinions. But my opinion is that this one right here was the best. And so
I'll always take care of you.
I wanna hold
burger.
I'm gonna love you forever.
Let's not do that again, okay?
Don't worry, darling, about the rest of our life. Through thick and thin, I'll be there by your side. 'Cause when I see those big, beautiful eyes looking into mine, I wanna hold you forever.
To have and to be from this day forward.
You forever.
Come on, Bear.
Yes, I do now. Ooh.
I'm gonna love you forever.
Okay, Bear.
I'll be there. You don't have to worry. Be by your side. Your comfort.
I mean, wow, that was powerful. I'm misting up just even watching that right there. It was a powerful, powerful ad, And I mean, it's like obviously they're selling like premium dog food, and I've got 2 dogs, and we have a pig as well that is a pet pig named Hamlet, and man, just sign me up. I'm over here. I'm like, want to, because it speaks to one of my core values, and that's just the value of time and time spent with loved ones, and whether it's your kids, your fur babies, the whole thing. And it was a powerful ad. I mean, it just 5 stars. And so I think that's one thing that I shared all these through Twitter. You may have seen that. And so if you're someone who wants to see some of these ads, then check it out, and go ahead and follow me on Twitter. You can find me at Daniel Bradley X. Daniel Bradley's taken everywhere, too common of a name, so I'm Daniel Bradley X anywhere. And you can follow some of these things as well as some other ways that I like to share some of the tips and tricks I have for helping your family save money, make more money, and build lasting wealth, for this generation and the next. And if I can help you save your time and value it that way, then I've done my job. That's what I want to see happen with you, is you win with this money game, because money translates into so many different areas of our life. And I like to treat it like a game. I like to see whether I'm coaching someone one-on-one, or I'm teaching in like a more like broader setting, like with a company or a class or whatever it is. The context isn't as important as how the information is being conveyed in a way that can change people's lives. And so there's another forum like that, other than social media. I'm on TikTok, and I post regularly. A lot of times it's just different tips and highlights from the different online content that I create. But within TikTok, there's a whole bunch of good advice and a whole bunch of bad advice. So I thought I would pick out the top credit card tips from other creators on TikTok and take a look at those and see if there's anything good or not. So
credit card hack that you should try: if you have discipline, you want to eliminate the day-to-day money decisions, and you want to build your credit score. If your bills and expenses, for example, come out to $2,000 a month, and you have a credit card with a limit of $2,000 as well, try and use your credit card. Now this part is key because you want to pay in full by the statement day. Statement day is the day that your billing cycle ends, and that's also the day that your credit utilization reports to the credit bureau. So you want to make sure that's reported 0 by that date. Here's what's going to happen as a result. You're going to get back cash and rewards and points and bonuses. And because you pay your card off on time and your credit utilization is low, that's going to help increase your credit score. Like and follow for more money management tips.
All right. I mean, I don't disagree with the use of credit cards. So let's get that out of the way. I think it could be a helpful thing. Now, he's talking about credit utilization, and the key there is to make sure that you are using a small percentage of your overall availability. Now, this is the problem I have with it, is that, people like to, what I call, redline their approach to credit. And he's talking about having a $2,000 limit, and you're maxing out that limit, but then paying it down. Now, what happens if you forget? We all forget things. What happens if you miss that day? I say keep the utilization even lower. If you're going to have a credit card, use it sparingly, use it at 10% or less, and then also continue to pay that off on a strict schedule, so that way you're giving yourself a fail-safe, giving yourself some grace in case you were to forget. Here's this next one, another credit card tip worth watching.
Credit card hack. Make a payment 15 days before the due date and 3.
So if you never heard of that hack, it's called the 15-3 hack, right? Where you pay your credit card 15 days before due and then 3 days before it's due again, to trick the system into thinking that you're making multiple payments in a month. But you look at your credit report, your credit cards only report once a month. You don't have to do that. All you gotta do is find the statement close date. You open up your Credit Karma, as you can see right here. This card last reported on the 16th, so that means it reports the 16th of the month. You see it has a balance of $3,000, so you want to pay that balance 3 days before the 16th if you want to see your credit score increase.
All right, so here's a great example right here of someone who is using your credit card and trying to maximize and trying to find that narrow margin of when you can pay off your balance. It's helpful to know those dates, and you can find out those dates using free things like Credit Karma, but don't wait until that date, because that date, it may come and go. You may forget, or like, what if you're sick or something, you're in the hospital, or you forget, you're on vacation, you're out of town, you're out of the country, and you forget to pay on that specific date. Well, go ahead and have your auto pay set up, know those dates, set the calendar notifications, but then pay regularly, pay every Monday. So that's what I do. Every Monday I check my balances, I pay them off, and problem solved. And so know that information, but then still wait until the last minute. And you see that utilization is using 75% of the balance he has available. And so maybe that's what you have to do, or you feel like you have to do with your spending. But if you can, keep your utilization low, even of what you have available, even if you are going to pay it off, just in case. You need that second layer of protection.
That would be $6,000, debit or credit. I'll be paying with credit. Sounds like Grandma forgot to send your birthday money this year, huh? No, I pay everything with my credit card. Look, dude, take it from me and my buddy Dave Ramsey. Debt will ruin your life. Well, here's the thing. If I pay with my debit card, I wouldn't get 100,000 airline miles. What do you mean? The credit card I'm using is offering me 100,000 points after I make this purchase. I'll be transferring those points into airline miles through a transfer partner and fly first class for free. Maybe I should stop listening to Dave Ramsey and follow you instead.
Man, shots fired at Dave Ramsey. I don't disagree with this either. And so, full disclosure, like, I have a credit card and we use the points. We shop a lot at Costco. You hear me talk about that all the time. And, you do the math and you figure out, it's like, if I go to Costco and I'm going to be spending $500, then if I can get that 4%, back, and I'm going to end up continuing to shop at Costco for that reason, that's great. Now, I don't go and spend extra at Costco just to get that percentage, and I don't go open up a credit card just because I'm going to get 100,000 miles on it. Those miles, if you're not using them, they depreciate in value on a very predictable basis. And so if you look at Southwest, they were depreciating their miles every year, and so it costs more points to fly more miles in the future. So not only is the cost of a ticket going up, but the value of your points are going down, especially if you don't use them. So people love status. People love these credit card points. They love accumulating them and feeling like they have continued value, but they, my personal opinion is that they don't. And my tip would be, if you're going to have a credit card, to use them strategically and sparingly. And so it can be a good thing, and to know your own relationship with debt. So if you're looking at this as an example, this person has a very specific plan to pay off their card and to use them on a set schedule. Now, if they know themselves and they know that typically whenever they set New Year's resolutions and they come up with plans for themselves that they don't always follow them through all the way through, then credit cards aren't for you. Because if your execution falls short, then the repercussions can be much, much higher than what those credit card points are worth. And that's the gamble, that's the bet that the credit card companies are making against us as American consumers. They continue to make money off of us because the points that they're throwing out and the travel vouchers and the benefits always are less than the money they're making off of the average consumer when they spread it across those multiple people. You may say to yourself, well, that's not me. I'm always going to pay it off. I've got more cash that I know what to do with. And if that's the case, more power to you. But a lot of us find ourselves in a situation where we want to buy a car, we want to buy a house, we want to have the money to saved up for a baby. And so that leads us to the next important part, which is how can we pay off our debts and improve our credit score? So the majority of Americans are running sort of a marathon, and it's with two concrete blocks strapped to their feet. Okay, so picture yourself trying to run as fast as you can. Let's call these two blocks the inability to take on debt due to your credit score and having too much debt due to a lack of income and not being able to pay the bills. So I'm going to outline 3 tips to address both of these and leave you with more money and better credit and less stress. So this is going to be an approach hopefully to improve all those aspects. So for me personally, I cash flowed everything in college: car, tuition, groceries. You know, Uncle Dave would be very proud. And then I saved up, and my wife and I, we stepped into that next chapter of life, and we wanted to buy our first house. And so, you know, we're going through the process, and we found a lender, and we had our real estate agent. We really kind of did everything in reverse. So we should have known how much we could afford before shopping. And she had a great credit score, and I was naively shocked to find out that my credit score was non-existent. And but I pay my bills, right? And that wasn't enough justification to give a recent college grad a loan for hundreds of thousands of dollars just because they were able to pay a cell phone bill or pay rent or pay tuition for a few years. It just wasn't enough credibility. And so nearly half of Americans have a credit score of 750 or higher, and an average score of 716 by FICO standards means most lenders are going to consider yourself with good credit worthiness and are more likely to extend lower interest rates on loans that you're going to obtain. So 716 for right now is kind of a good line in the sand between good and bad if you want to really generalize it. But nearly half of Americans out there have 750 or higher. And so where are all these people coming from with 450, 550, 650 credit scores? This is what we're going to unpack. Credit scores are like a grade for your borrowing history. Okay, they're like a A, B, C, D, F kind of grade that you would get on a report card, and they fall within a range of 300 and 850. Okay, so you're going to fall somewhere between 300 and 850 if you have a credit score. The higher your score, the better. And this may be rudimentary for people, but this is important to understand the foundation. People with higher credit scores tend to get better interest rates on loans and have access to credit cards with better perks and lower interest rates, and they could even be paying less for insurance and things like that. So the first approach is going to be to make on-time full payments. This is the most important thing to do. Some people are going to tell you you have to carry a balance, and that's not going to help your credit, and it's just not going to, incurring interest on a credit card, it's just not fun. Okay, it's going to be a vicious downward cycle, especially today with credit card interest rates being like 25, 26, 27%, then it's going to be an immediate hole that you dug yourself in. So pay off debts and keep accounts current, it's all just a measure of how likely you will be behind on a bill. All right, so your credit score is just kind of that grade is on whether or not you're going to fall behind on a bill that you owe to someone. And so, how I do this is I pay off my balances, everything off every Monday. So Monday, I look at all my balances, all of our transactions for the prior week, and I pay things off. And what this does is it keeps me from ever missing a payment and overlook any weird spending. So I don't just go through the balances, I go through the transactions and I see, is there anything on here that is something that I didn't expect or that is fraud or anything like that. And so another aspect of this is keeping utilization low. And so that just means like how much available credit you're using, utilization. And if you have a $10,000 limit, for example, on a credit card, then you don't want a balance of more than $1,000 on any of your statements. And so that's 10%. Now, if you're paying off your balance regularly, if you're like me and every Monday you're going in and taking care of it, then that helps your overall utilization stay low. And there's a key date in there for when the credit card companies are reporting what your balance is. And so a lot of that, it seems like a very specific way to, be feeling like on a treadmill or hamster on a wheel, constantly chasing after certain dates and balances. But there are free tools out there. They're going to help you measure your credit. So I always suggest to people just, Credit Karma is probably the most popular one. Just download that app and follow your stuff. This isn't like an ad or anything. I don't get anything for you, using Credit Karma, at least not right now. So go ahead and, check it out as a tool that you should be using. We'll talk more about that later on. So the second approach to keeping your credit score rising instead of falling is going to be to keep unused credit accounts open. So this is something where you want those accounts open even if they go unused. The longer an account is open, the more your average is going to increase over time. It's going to have a better average account age for you. So if you have the average number of years that all of your accounts are open, you want that to be increasing. You want that to be higher. This is a major reason why older generations typically have better credit scores on average, because their accounts have been open longer. And so to help with this, if you have a credit card, for example, this is where people usually, go awry, is that they find that they've got a credit card and it is got some big fee attached to it, like an Amex card that you've got $500 of fees every year, and all of a sudden you're not traveling as much. I don't know, maybe there's a pandemic or something, and you find yourself, I don't want to pay this $500 fee anymore. Or maybe it's like a Chase card and it's got a $95 fee every year. Instead of closing out that credit card, you want to try to cycle it down to a card with a lower cost. And so, for a lot of these different card providers, they have cards that are without fees, and you can actually take a card, cycle it down to that account, down to a card without a fee, and it will help with, having to incur that additional cost year over year. And so that's what I recommend. I recommend, taking the account, cycling it down, and then putting that card away if you're not going to use it. And if you find that you have an unhealthy relationship with debt, then that can be a good solution for you. So that's the second thing, is to keep your unused credit accounts open so that your average life is longer. And so a big mistake people make. And number 3, the third approach to improving your credit score is going to be to keep track of your score. Now, I mentioned using Credit Karma as a free resource, like the mobile app on your phone. And you'll be able to use that to get insights on your debt, your utilization, the accounts that are open, the things that are helping and hurting you. And hopefully, a good resource like that is going to be free, and it's going to give you tips on how to improve your score specifically. So with all these things, this is all a lot of, free information and my own tips. But, what I do is I actually really help with the implementation And so that's, you say, well, why you even have a money coach or a, advisor or anything like that? It's not for the educational part of it. It's more for having the information applied directly to you and tailored to be a solution for you, to make it more efficient, to help you go faster towards your money goals. So also, consider any identity theft protection and monitoring as a foundational way to have healthier credit. I mean, this is something where it costs my family like $150 a year to monitor our personal information, and it can save you a lot of life-altering pain and headaches if your information gets stolen. I mean, that's a quick way to torpedo someone's credit, is for someone else to impersonate them and then abuse all of these different variables and factors. Now, there's 3 steps here to improve your credit score fast. Number 1, have a credit building card. So you're going to need to have some sort of account open. You're going to have to accumulate debt and manage it appropriately in order to improve your score. The way to do that is, number 2, make payments. Regularly pay your balance on time. And number 3 is to get in the habit of monitoring your credit score. Use something like Credit Karma, download that app onto your phone, and it's going to help you monitor your debt utilization and provide tailored tips for free to improve your score. So to round things out, send me your favorite credit card hacks, your favorite credit cards, your favorite tips for developing your credit score. I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. You can always drop a comment and anything, or help reach directly to me through the Q&A link at the bottom of our weekly newsletter. So I send a newsletter each week, and that gives a lot of the information, a lot of content, creating a lot of the tips, and a lot of financial education for you for free. There's a link in the bio, and at the bottom of each of those newsletters is a Q&A link that's going to be able to help you connect directly with me.